I think it's also important to remember that this is life's work, right? It's really the path. It's a lifestyle in a way. You're never going to stop learning. You're never going to stop discovering if you embrace this path. Anytime you start to feel that it gets to be work or effort, I think it's helpful to just take a moment and see, what are you resisting? Why does it have to be work? Why can't it just be self-love? I have seen when you take that effort piece out, when you surrender to it, it doesn't mean that you are allowing it to overtake. You're allowing it to move. Just being in that flow and being in that movement helps the lifestyle, helps the path, because every day, every moment, it becomes an opportunity for growth, whatever that is for the individual.
Welcome to The Beginner's Guide to the Third Eye, the podcast that delves into the profound realms of spiritual experiences, exploring the dedicated practitioners and various modalities that guide us on our transformative path. Together, we will explore the mystical, the magical, the enlightened, and the sacred. In each episode, we pair seasoned practitioners, spiritual experiences, or healing modalities, and a willing participant to share their experience in working together. We will explore the unique insights, stories, and wisdom gained from their own profound journeys, unveiling the extraordinary narratives that shape spiritual seekers and practitioners alike. My name is Krista Rauschenberg, and my work as a healer has emerged from hundreds of hours of certified training, spiritual initiations, direct experience, and deep personal work. I have been employed in the healing arts as a postpartum doula, an advanced Akashic reader, an Akashic breathwork practitioner, and a writer. Facilitating and educating people through their personal, spiritual, and healing journeys is my greatest source of happiness.
And I'm Elle Larson. I use sound and space to help balance internal and external environments. I've practiced holistic healing modalities for over 20 years, and my work includes Tibetan bowl sound healing, feng shui, Reiki, and shamanism.
Welcome once again to The Beginner's Guide to the Third Eye, where we demystify the mystical. On today's show, we'll be exploring intuitive healing, which is a powerful way to shift your energetic and physical body into a higher state of healing and frequency. Intuitive energy healing is an alternative healing approach that combines intuitive abilities with the concept of energy healing. It is rooted in the belief that there is a subtle energy that flows through and around the body, and disturbances or imbalances in this energy can lead to physical, emotional, or spiritual issues. Practitioners of intuitive healing often rely on their intuitive abilities to perceive and interpret energy. This may involve sensing energy blockages, imbalances, or disturbances in the client's energy field. Intuitive healing typically takes a holistic approach, considering the interconnectedness of the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of an individual. Practitioners aim to address the root causes of issues rather than just alleviating symptoms, and the process is often client-centered, meaning the healer works in collaboration with the client to identify and address their specific needs and concerns. The intuitive insights of the healer guide the session, allowing for a personalized and tailored approach. Let's welcome our guest for this episode of Intuitive Healing. We are lucky enough to have Colleen Mizell, who is incredibly gifted in this field. Colleen is a licensed practitioner of Chinese medicine, specializing in the treatment of emotional imbalances, using a combination of acupuncture, herbs, and intuitive communication to create a space for the healing and well-being of an individual's highest good. She has been practicing for over 20 years and received her master's in traditional Chinese medicine from Emperor's College in Santa Monica, California. She then went on to study different aspects of energy work, including meditation, clairvoyance, and hands-on healing. Colleen continues her spiritual and academic education through various programs and workshops all over the world. And our willing participant is Quiana, who has generously offered to share her experience in working with Colleen. Quiana is a corporate executive who is energized by art, design, music, and culture. She has always felt a strong alignment to spirit and has relied on that alignment to navigate through life. Welcome to you both. Elle and I are so happy to have you. A big part of why we created this podcast was to showcase energy workers and demystify what they do. So Colleen, I'd love to start with you and get a bit of your background. Tell me, what was your first experience with the metaphysical world? How did this work come to you? And how has your life unfolded to get you where you are today? On today's show, we'll be exploring intuitive healing, which is a powerful way to shift your energetic and physical body into a higher state of healing and frequency. Intuitive energy healing is an alternative healing approach that combines intuitive abilities with the concept of energy healing. It is rooted in the belief that there is a subtle energy that flows through and around the body, and disturbances or imbalances in this energy can lead to physical, emotional, or spiritual issues. Practitioners of intuitive healing often rely on their intuitive abilities to perceive and interpret energy. This may involve sensing energy blockages, imbalances, or disturbances in the client's energy field. Intuitive healing typically takes a holistic approach, considering the interconnectedness of the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of an individual. Practitioners aim to address the root causes of issues rather than just alleviating symptoms. And the process is often client-centered, meaning the healer works in collaboration with the client to identify and address their specific needs and concerns. The intuitive insights of the healer guide the session, allowing for a personalized and tailored approach. Let's welcome our guest for this episode of Intuitive Healing. We are lucky enough to have Colleen Mizell, who is incredibly gifted in this field. Colleen is a licensed practitioner of Chinese medicine, specializing in the treatment of emotional imbalances, using a combination of acupuncture, herbs, and intuitive communication to create a space for healing and well-being of an individual's highest good. She has been practicing for over 20 years, received her master's in traditional Chinese medicine from Emperor's College in Santa Monica, California, and then went on to study different aspects of energy work, including meditation, clairvoyance, and hands-on healing. She continues her spiritual and academic education through various programs and workshops all over the world. And our willing participant is Quiana, who has generously offered to share her experience in working with Colleen. Quiana is a corporate executive who is energized by art, design, music, and culture. She has always felt a strong alignment to spirit and has relied on that alignment to navigate through life. Welcome to you both. Elle and I are so happy to have you. A big part of why we created this podcast was to showcase energy workers and demystify what they do. So Colleen, I'd love to start with you and get a bit of your background. Tell me, what was your first experience with the metaphysical world? How did you come to do the work that you do? And then how has your life unfolded to get you where you are today?
Well, I'm happy to be here and happy to help demystify energy work because I think it is definitely within everybody's grasp. We're all innately born with these muscles, and it's just whether or not we've had the opportunity to work them. I was trying to think about this question earlier, and there were experiences that I had as a child that I think were probably more energetic or more sensitive or intuitive. I don't think that I really saw it that way, and I don't think people around me necessarily saw it that way. It wasn't until I had some training and was able to put the pieces together. In undergrad, I studied anthropology, and most of the anthropology that I was drawn to were more of like the shamanistic types of practices. So that person within a culture that was in charge of the spiritual well-being of a group or a community. That was fascinating to me. I then went into studying Chinese medicine and realized that the basis or the roots of that kind of medicine was in shamanism. So that opened that paradigm back up for me that I felt very comfortable in, and it made sense. It just absolutely, totally, 100% resonated with me. So once I got my master's in Chinese medicine and I started practicing, I started to really realize that I did better if I was not using the textbook protocols for certain things. That when I brought in a level of just going with my intuition, that the treatments were a lot stronger, and my patients would comment on that as well. So I started to study meditation and energy work formally. Through a school and program, doing coursework and then some workshops. And that was probably 10 years. And at some point during that 10 years, I brought the two together. So I brought the Chinese medicine, the acupuncture, that whole world, and this idea of looking at energy and reading energy and using the intuition and more the clairvoyance to bring those two together for the well-being and the growth and evolvement of people.
Amazing. Tell me, going back just a bit, tell me what those experiences were in your childhood that you looked back on and thought, oh, that was something otherworldly or energetic.
Yeah, I used to write a lot as a kid. And a lot of the things that I would write about were things that were paranormal or time travel, the things that were out there. And I think what that was me trying to verbalize or express my connection to maybe what we would call past lives or linear lives. But I was definitely feeling like I was in touch with other parts of me, other higher parts of me, or other maybe like dimensional type of thing. I do remember that when my grandfather passed away, I think I was in third grade, I would see him. I would get visits from him. And I thought, these are different than dreams. My dream space as a kid was really vibrant. And I think that I was getting a lot of information through the astral. Those were some of my earlier childhood memories. I'd get feelings too when I'd walk into a room or into a place where it was beyond what I was physically seeing.
Was there anything about having those experiences or that level of sensitivity that made it difficult for you in childhood? Did you feel supported? Were you able to speak of it to your family?
Yeah, I think I was able to speak to it freely as a kid, although I don't think that I really knew what I was speaking to. But I was excited by it. I was fascinated by it. I think when I was a kid, I was the one that was into ghost stories and things that go bump in the night. And that definitely did not scare me. I think it scared my parents a little bit, that those were the things that I really thought were fun, but I wasn't weird about it.
Nice. That's lucky. A lot of people have the opposite. These
Yes.
qualities and abilities and sensitivities overwhelm either them or their family of origin or both, and it gets shelved or shut down. Yeah, that you didn't have to go through that. And then did you have any sort of awakening? Was it a slow evolution? Did it all evolve naturally, if you will?
I think for me, I would have to say it evolved more naturally. I've heard people who've gotten hit over the head with it. It's all of a sudden they've found the path. But I think mine was a little bit more organically. And it's interesting that I cannot remember the exact moment or reason why, but when I switched from studying anthropology and choosing to study Chinese medicine, I can't recall what that was. A lot of times people have a story, oh, Chinese medicine, acupuncture helped with a condition, and then I was sold and I wanted to give this to the rest of the world kind of a thing. And I don't have that story, but I do feel if I have to put a name to it, if I have to describe it, I do feel like I was guided to do it. Because as I look back at my trajectory, I can see where there were points in my life where it was like, nope, this is a really good nudge this way. And then let's nudge this way. So I do feel like I have been supported spiritually, but I don't have an origin story in that way. Much more kind of trusting in the path that lies ahead.
Curiosity led you.
For sure, curiosity. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the satisfaction of having those questions or those sensations answered and then going into the next.
Yeah.
Quiana, tell us a bit about your background. What kinds of readings or healings have you had before this? And then what were your expectations coming into this, or any reservations if you had any?
Yeah, absolutely. From a historical perspective, I had my first energy reading, I would say maybe 15, 16 years ago. So it's been quite a while. And I was led to her because funny story, my mom came to visit after a breakup. And anyone that knows me knows I'm a neat freak. So my home is always very clean and everything is very in order. And she came and she was like, the amount of dust in this place is ridiculous. She was like, I think you're depressed. And so I started to seek therapy. especially because when you look at the relationship, I wasn't really happy in the relationship anyway. So why wasn't I experiencing a feeling of relief of not being in it versus
Right.
being devastated and not cleaning my house? So I started to seek the help of therapists, and it just wasn't connecting at the time. I was doing a lot of talking in the sessions, and I was looking for more guidance than I was getting. And a friend of mine introduced me to Yvette, and I felt like I could talk to her about what was going on. So, a way for me to release that. And she gave me the guidance that I was looking for. But on top of that, she introduced me to Reiki healing. And I was able to express myself, but also open myself to the healing that I needed. At that point, I was just focused on getting past the breakup. But as time has passed, I look more at these spiritual methods as ways for me to reconnect to my authentic self and learn more about myself and continue to heal myself and be on the path to who God has created me to be. So, in addition to the Reiki, to further answer your question, I've
Sure.
got tarot card readings as well. I've had experiences with Chinese medicine, acupuncture. I have even experienced a ceremony of ayahuasca. And I do a lot of meditation myself, a lot of journaling. And what I have learned through these readings is a lot of the readers have told me about my intuitive gifts. Yvette was the first one to tell me about it. And my response was, okay. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay. Okay, I have intuitive powers. I don't know what that means. But the more I continue to hear it from different people that did not know each other, I was like, oh, they may be onto something. And one of the tarot card readers, she actually shared with me, this is how you tap into your intuitive gifts if you're interested in exploring that. And so I followed those instructions and was absolutely freaked out and also amazed at what I experienced. And so I'm grateful to have found that part of myself as well.
What were those instructions?
She told me to get grounded. I have quite a few crystals. So I used my smoky quartz and the clear quartz to ground myself. And then I also used my amethyst to activate my third eye. Because in addition to tapping into those powers, I also wanted to energetically communicate with someone that I was having a hard time communicating with in 3D. And so activated my third eye. And in the case of trying to communicate with someone, she instructed me to ask this person for permission to access him or her. And so I did that, and apparently I received permission. And so it was very interesting, collaborative exchange on an energetic level. And I
So
called immediately, oh my God, you were right.
wow. And you have continued this practice? Is it like a meditative state that you achieve?
I had a very specific purpose for it in that time. So it's not something that I do or even that I've done quite often. This person sometimes communicates with me because when I called her and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. She's, do you know what that means? And I said, no, I'm like still freaked out. I need some time to process it. And she said, it means that the other person has intuitive powers as well. And although I have not initiated that exchange, I have received it from that same person before.
Beautiful. And to be clear, this person is living, not passed over,
Yes,
correct?
living.
Got it. Exciting. Colleen, can you tell us about the work that you do for someone that has never heard of intuitive healing, or as you like to call it, intuitive communication? How would you describe it, and what would you consider its purpose to be?
Sure. I would describe intuitive communication as a spirit to spirit conversation. And what I take a look at is what is standing between them and what they are trying to create in their life. So what are those things that they are tripping over or that show up as blockages, or hurdles for them to get over in order to bring more of what they are wanting to create into their life. So it's bringing them more in alignment with their higher selves, so to speak. I look at the aura and the chakras. Sometimes past life information does come through, sometimes spirit guides, sometimes loved ones that have passed on. I just let it all unfold. Just show me what's going on in your space. And then that person really sets the tone. I do feel like I create a healing space and I just hold that for somebody to come into. Whether they want to walk into it or not is up to them. But I do hold the space and let them write the story, write the session. And I'm just observing and communicating or relaying what that person is showing me.
Would you say that they reveal as much as they are willing or able? So if the body is ready to release, have you seen it where the body can be in conflict with the mind or the mind can try to control? Would that be considered some of the barriers that you may find?
Yeah, there's no limit to the barriers that we've created for ourselves. So yeah, sometimes they lie in the body, the physical body, the emotional body. The mental is a big one. People really get tied up in their own head.
Mm-hmm.
So helping people realize when that's happening. Oftentimes I see people getting in their own way, their mind. It's like a hamster wheel, right?
How does that come through in the energy? Because I find that the mind is our biggest hurdle to overcome, and it interferes a lot. Do you see that in the energetic realm? And is it something that you try to diffuse? Does it sometimes create too much interference and you can't move through it?
I think that it's very easy to feel, from an energetic space, a busy mind.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of filters that we have in our brain just based on our belief systems. And a lot of times it's the attachment to those belief systems that kind of keeps you in these parameters, these boxes of limitations. So when you can just somebody, look, you have some limitations based on a belief system that no longer serves you. Boom, that really opens up a space for people.
Yeah.
Because most of the time they're completely unaware that they have them or that they've been operating on them. And to help people step out of that box, that's a really beautiful thing to observe in somebody, because you're watching somebody actively evolve.
I think that we all carry different levels of conditioning through not only our childhood, but inheriting the beliefs and conditioning of our parents and their parents. Even past lives can affect some of our thinking and behaviors. Have you seen that to be true?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why it's important that when I open up a session that I'm letting that person show me where to go, what to look at, because sometimes people will come right up with past life energy and where things are stuck in those spaces. And other times it's childhood. Other times it could be
yesterday.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where it comes from, sky's the limit.
If something comes up in a session with me, often clients will say, but I already healed that, or I've worked on that, or basically it's finished. We don't recognize the roots and the layers and how those things can come back up to further inform us, to help us navigate, to bring our attention to, it might be this that healed, and I'm using air quotes, but there's root structures that extend outside of that as well. And if we are ever listening and growing and changing and evolving, then it's really important that we participate in and not try to control, right? There's no boxes to check off. We should live in all of it and let all of it inform us.
Yeah. I think that's a really important thing that you bring up about the layers of a particular trauma or a particular picture that somebody might be stuck on, is that, you could work that entire thing for a lifetime or several lifetimes. And it just depends on what layer of that thing you're now ready to peel off.
And even how far back it goes.
Yeah.
Right? There's almost no way of telling how deep it is. And I don't know that's even important. If it's still showing up for you, then it's your responsibility to honor it and keep working with it for as long as it needs your love and support and attention.
Absolutely.
Colleen, back to the shamanism. Do you have a personal journeying practice, or did you explore more of that on your own?
I think for me personally, the whole idea of shamanism can be a broad term. So I don't personally consider myself a shaman, but I think that some of the things that I do could be considered in that world.
Like a journey space when you're
Yes,
working?
yes. A lot of times I do. Like sometimes that's so weird. These lights never flicker like that.
Listener,
or is it
just-
not weird, right?
Yeah, it's not weird at all. Colleen, the lights in her home are flickering on and off repeatedly.
It's like Morse
the
code.
It's the woo shamanesses coming to you. Oh, now we've lost her completely. All right. It's definitely the woo shamanesses then.
What is that?
They were the original female shamans in China.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And Elle, will you describe when you ask about journey, what are the layman's terms? What would you define as a journey practice?
Shamanism is the oldest spiritual practice in the world, and it's really connected worldwide by using either a substance or rhythm or music or fasting to enter an altered state of consciousness or a transcendent state of consciousness to access, in core shamanism, they're going to call it the lower, the middle, and the upper world. So essentially, you're accessing these alternate faces of the world that surrounds us, these alternate faces of reality. It could be that, or maybe we're just tapping into our subconscious. Regardless, we're going to get information from those spaces. So this practice of going into a transcendental state, which is essentially letting go of your thinking mind, which Colleen was just talking about, gets in our way. And then we're able to access this more intuitive space, this subconscious space, or this extra layer of reality space.
So the power in the entire house just went out.
Oh, no.
So, and Colleen is checking the breaker. Let's see if she can get back online. Quiana, as the recipient of this work with Colleen, how would you describe the experience?
As she was explaining or describing it, it mirrored exactly my experience with her. Normally, I guess this is my type A brain. There are certain bullet points that I want to touch on. But in this session, I had no plans whatsoever, no expectations whatsoever. I wanted to just go into it. And my only prayer was, God, continue to be present during this session, cover the both of us during this session, and reveal to Colleen what she needs in order to reveal to me the information that you'd like for me to have. So that was my only expectation and ask via a prayer. But she is very aligned and gifted. And in the session, there was really nothing that I disagreed with or questioned. There were some things that she shared with me that actually gave me a few aha moments and connected things that I'd known, but not quite understood why they were the way that they are. So specifically speaking, we were talking about people's beliefs and how what you believe determines ultimately what you experience in life. And as we were talking about me being in this space of releasing more masculine energy that I have been leading with, like from a work perspective and living independently and having to like do all the things, most things on my own. So releasing those masculine energies and embracing my feminine energies. A part of embracing that feminine energy for me is being much more open from a heart center perspective, much more open in regards to love. And one of the beliefs that she called out was how I'd been carrying around this belief that love is pain. And if you look at my experiences from a relationship perspective, they've not been deeply painful. There's been some hurt, of course, and some pain, but it's not too deep. And so you have this belief because it's been passed down to you. And so if I look back over my ancestors, some of which are still here, and what their experiences have been in this space, it has been very painful. And so when you pass that down, and my mom may have responded a certain way to my grandmother's experience, and my mom's response to that forms her belief, which she passes on to me and my sister. And so it was really eye-opening for me to be able to connect that. For one, to hear her say that, because that's never a belief that I thought I embedded or had embedded. But to hear her say it, I was like, you know what? Makes perfect sense. And now I can figure out where that came from and how to address it. So it was an amazing session.
All right, so Quiana, I'm just going to start by having you close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath or two. And allow yourself to ground, to come into this moment, to allow yourself to be in the space of healing, in the vibration of receiving, giving yourself permission to release anything that no longer serves you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And Quiana, what would your healing request be for today? What is it that you want to take a look at?
Interestingly, it's what you just stated, which is giving myself permission to let go of what no longer serves me. As I mentioned, I do feel like I'm in a space of transition. And so I know that there's been a lot of release already. And so if there's anything else that needs to be released, I welcome that insight, and also any information that needs to be revealed to me to help me along the path of where I'm headed.
And just to remind you, I work this like a conversation. So anything that might come up that you feel like you need more clarification on, or you want to do a deeper dive into, or you have something to say or comment about, just speak up.
Okay, will do.
Okay, so Quiana, your second chakra is really catching my attention right now. Your second and your crown. There's a lot of female energy. Feels like part of this transition that you talked about has to do with your female energy. Some of it on a physical level, but then there's this part about the crown that kind of chimes in and looks like it's elevating your female energy. So there's this kind of empowerment or strength that's coming in with your female energy that is coming in from a female source or strength or space. It looks like in the past you have used some male energy. We're all a combination of female and male energy. We have learned from either upbringing or society that we have needed to use our male energy for certain things. You are looking at some of the places where you have used the male energy, and this is part of the transition. It's a realization that you can come from those really deep, wise female spaces and be just as effective, even more effective, because you're being more true to yourself than using the male part. You are evolving in that way and releasing some of that male energy that ultimately becomes limiting for you, especially in the ways that you're wanting to communicate. The thing that's coming up is your fourth chakra, the heart space right here. There's some guarding. There's also a sense of going back to the female energy. You're also bringing up your mom. So there's a bit of an ancestral piece to this as well. I feel like you were having some issues with your mom, or your mom was having some of her own issues. Is that correct?
Yeah, a couple of months ago, she was in the hospital.
Part of what you're doing, and this involves your crown, your fourth and your second, going back to the ancestral piece, separating your female energy from other female energies in the family. So where the patterns of belief or ideas, things that have been quote unquote passed down, are not in complete and total alignment with, or you've grown out of. These are also releasing out of these three spaces.
Agree with that.
The fourth right now seems to be the hardest or the most stubborn one. And there's a protective or a disconnect with some of your own feelings or your ability to receive. And this is where some of that toughness that you may have used over your lifetime, where it becomes almost too painful to lead with the heart. So you control how much you allow in or out. There are some childhood pictures that are coming up where you felt bad about yourself, invalidated. So it feels like, when you're a kid and you get in trouble and you just feel crummy about things for a while. It's like that. So you're releasing some old energy out of your fourth. It's almost like you were coming from a place of joy or like a higher vibration. And then an adult or a person in authority popped your bubble, so to speak. And then there's this feeling of feeling bad about yourself. So you're releasing some of those pictures, those memories, because where you're really going is, it looks like part of your next step is incorporating that higher female wisdom into your space, but also this idea of really self-acceptance and coming from a space of safety, almost, that it's okay to be in your heart space. And it's okay to not only love yourself, but also to show that out to the world, but at the same time, be able to receive when somebody is acknowledging you, especially in a really loving way or in a almost like giving you praise. Does that make sense?
It does. Makes full sense. It's been this particular topic of feeling safe to be in my heart space, safe to show myself to the world. It's just people in general, and to be able to receive has been something that I've been working on for a while.
So in having that recognition of how these beliefs that you held and how they telegraph out into the world or can impact your decision making, since the session, have you been able to pull that back into behaviors and thoughts? Has it shifted your approach?
It has. And even beyond that, I'm asking myself, what is the experience that I truly want to have? What is going to bring me joy, like in this space? Because another thing that we talked about is how I have been attached to this patriarchal system that honestly really doesn't align with the truth of who I am or what I want. I'm more of an unorthodox, non-traditional type of girl. And trying to fit yourself into a box that was never designed for you is very challenging and very frustrating. And you don't really get the experience that you want. And so post that session, I've been asking myself, what does that look like? And who do I want to show up as in that relationship? Or who do I need to be in order to have the experience that I'm looking to have? Also, in that session, she talked about the chakras that stood out to her. And it's very interesting. She said she saw colors of green and violet and orange. And those are colors that seem to follow me during my ayahuasca experience in my kaleidoscope visions. Those were the colors. Those are areas that either are highly active for me and or areas that need to be further healed.
Going back to your box analogy, I could imagine that it pulled the veil and you can look at your life and the people in it and think, is that another box that I'm expected to fit into, or I was trying to fit into, and scrapping the box and creating your own, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
But you might look at the landscape and think, wow, that's a lot of boxes out there. I'm going to clean sweep it.
Yeah. And it could be overwhelming, but I'm enjoying it.
Beautiful.
Ultimately, I feel, okay, someone's giving me a blank slate and I get to write the story that I want to come to life. And not only am I thinking about that from a relationship experience, but also from a work perspective and tapping into the power of owning that we're able to write our own stories and be in alignment with spirit, with God, and ask to be guided towards the actions that we need to take in order to bring that in.
Right.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for you. I'm going to go back to this box analogy because I think that the world wants us to live in boxes. And I think there's a big part of all of us that feel safe just complying to what is expected of us. It gives us the illusion of control. And so to break away from that and break free is incredibly counterintuitive, even on a primal level. to be different, to be separate, to separate. So it's a huge shift that you're endeavoring into, that we all, I think everyone here today is endeavoring into or has.
Yeah. As I look back over my life, when I choose to conform or put myself in a box,
Mm.
at a certain point, I'm going to experience frustration because that's not where I belong. And I'm not wired to stay where I don't belong for too long. I think we can all overstay our welcome, but at a certain point, the frustration will be so high for me that I have to leave. And I try not to do it abruptly, although in my younger days, was like, you know what, I'm out. I don't know what's going to happen, but I've got to get out of this space. So for me, when I'm frustrated, it lets me know that I need to pay attention to my environment and start asking myself questions about what's working, what's not working, and what I need to change.
I see that as your heightened relationship to the feeling part of you and your ability to listen to that, because I think we're all hardwired to not be where we don't belong. And we will get signals or signs or intuitive hits, and we can numb that, right? We can disassociate from that. We can shut that down, suppress that. And then it will often come up in physical ailments or phobias or anxiety or insomnia. We're being told all the time. It's whether we're willing and able and ready to listen.
To your point about me being in tune to my feelings, definitely more so now than ever before. And so when I feel that frustration, it's much more intense now.
Mm.
And I have to pay much more attention to it and ask the questions and be guided. So I agree with you on that.
It's so inspiring. This session really blew me away. There was so much precision in it. Like Colleen was able to identify a recent ailment of a family member, and it showed up in your body. And she was able to even share the identity of that family member. That must have been a wild kind of experience for you, or very surprising.
Yeah, because I've been doing this for a while, but I do continue to be surprised by people's gifts and talents. So absolutely, that was surprising. But I also embraced that and was very grateful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was interesting that someone that you care about that was struggling, that she could see that in your energy. It just goes to show the beautiful connectivity that we all have if we're open and available to it. It made me think that in you doing your healing, if that person's showing up in your energy, then your healing and your higher vibration can show up in their energy as well. So we're all so connected. She was also able to identify that you came into this life with so much light and joy. And I saw you light up. It was beautiful. It's as if you had to hide that part of you away to survive in this world and receive love. And yet you are now at a time and place in your life wherein it's safe to call that part of you forward and let that part of you lead. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. And to build on top of what she read and shared with me about how I came into the world. And first of all, I needed to hear that because I've been seeking joy so deeply, so aggressively in the past few years. And I was just like, everything is too heavy and too serious all the time. I want joy. I want to go skip down the street and invite other people to come skip down the street with me. Like, how are we enjoying ourselves? And because I've been seeking that, to hear her tell me I came into the world as a joyful being, but when I was met with the beliefs of other human beings, that stunted the truth of who I am. And then I started to conform and get in the box and believe that I have to prove myself to others to be loved and be of service to others in a way that depletes me. And so just the total opposite of who I am.
I could imagine that having someone that's just reading your soul's energy to identify that has to be such a positive reinforcement towards claiming those parts of you back.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I also walked out realizing I'm no longer going to beat myself up about any challenges that I have with humans from a relationship perspective. Because hey, maybe that's more work that I have to do. And Colleen told me the same thing. She said, love is easier for me from a spiritual perspective than it is from the heart chakra human perspective. And it just all aligns. And I enjoy having that awareness and learning more about who I truly am and fully embracing it. And going back to the blank slate, me rewriting the story of the impact of love in relationships and people in my life.
So belief begets trust, begets surrender, expansion. Yeah.
A lot of surrender going on over here.
Colleen is back with us. Woohoo!
That was weird. Holy cow, man. Something. Anyway, woo. It's still not on.
So all of the energy in your home shut down. It was powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, to just, and I don't think this is uncommon. Electrical things can get weird, but I don't know if any of you have had the experience. I've personally had this experience more times than I can count, that when I am in a super highly emotional space, my phone will not work. Or when I've been doing readings, my face recognition on the phone won't work. My phone won't recognize me.
Wow.
Or my computer, my laptop shuts down.
Wow.
And I don't think this is completely unusual. I don't think this is what that was. I'm not like highly emotional at the moment, but that was just weird. And I don't know what to make of that.
I've encountered all kinds of people and had personal experiences. I think we probably all have, where at a higher vibration, things start to wobble.
Yeah.
And misalign.
But anyway, that was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm glad you're back. So Colleen, really, really interesting to watch you work. It was as if you were listening. How does this work within you? Do you see it, feel it, hear it, all of the above? Tell us about your experience in holding the session.
Yeah, I think I definitely am. When I'm seeing things, it's seen through the sixth. I know there's a whole bunch of different clairs out there, like clairsentient, clairaudient, clairvoyant, and there's others. Sometimes it's the seeing. Sometimes it is the knowing, which I think comes more from the crown. Sometimes it's a hearing. And it's not like hearing voices in your head. It's more of just like messages that seem to come through. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's more like having a conversation. If a person brings in a spirit guide or a past loved one or somebody who has a message, sometimes it's just about listening to what that message is.
Is it unique to each person? I guess it has to be, right? Whatever they bring in is how the information will connect to you.
Yeah. Sometimes people are super visual and it's like watching a movie. Sometimes it's not pictures at all, and it's just messages that come through. And sometimes they're just feelings. And I don't always know where the information comes from. A lot of times people ask me to repeat something, and I have a hard time doing that because sometimes once it's out of my mouth, I'm not connected to it anymore. I have to go back and bring in my mental part. I don't think it's a channeling, but I also don't always remember the sessions or even 5 minutes ago within a session.
That's interesting. You don't consider it channeling. What would you distinguish channeling to be if this isn't that?
I don't know. I think that's something yet to explore. I've never really considered myself a channeler. I think maybe my sort of sophomoric understanding of channeling is more feeling that there's an entity that might be coming through or somebody without a body. But I don't know that's necessarily the case. If I'm channeling, I'm doing it unintentionally.
Got it. So you mentioned that you sometimes encounter entities that have attached to an individual's energy. What kinds of things have you seen that have surprised you or shocked you or even scared you? Did this work take getting used to in that sense?
Yeah, in the beginning, when there were what you would consider more lower vibrational energies that, are attached or hang out with people. I think that was a little bit unsettling. But I've gotten to a point where I'm not afraid of it. They are, for the most part, just low vibrational energies. And as long as I keep my energy higher, there's nothing they can really do. And in fact, they just go away. They put on the scary mask to try and give you a shock or instill a little fear, but it's really just feels like smoke and mirrors.
Do they always release and leave?
Not always. Not always. Sometimes it's an agreement that a person has with that energy. And if that person's not ready to release that, they're part of the agreement, then it's more of a process. And maybe they release later.
Because there's something that they will be learning. It's some lesson, something that person is in communication with or in agreement to, correct?
Yes, definitely. But I would say the majority of the time when people come in with another energy, it's usually good. I set the space. My intention for the space is that if any other energies are coming in, that they are for the highest good of that person. I actually really physically say those words. With some of these energies, they're already there. Like they're already ready to release the energy that has been holding them back or standing between them and what they're trying to create by controlling what they are allowed to bring into their space. So a lot of times it's a half in, half out. And so when somebody comes into a session and that comes up, it doesn't take a whole lot for it to finally take the step out, or for that person to bring in enough of their own personal seniority and ownership to make that final release. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfectly. That being said, are there any difficulties that come with your work? Are there any obstacles that you face?
The continued awareness and dedication to separating from people is something that I have to really keep in mind and do my due diligence in separating energies, not going into healing spaces, because there's that part of, I think, a little bit in all of us that do this kind of work, this healing stuff, that you want to go in and fix. You want to make somebody feel better. You're like, okay, just hang in there. We'll go in there and fix it. And the reality is that's not in the highest good of the person. The highest good of the person is to allow them to have their own experiences, take their own steps so that they can take back their seniority and make their own changes. And that goes back to just reminding myself to hold space. I'm holding space, not controlling or fixing or healing necessarily. It's just about creating the opportunity for somebody to do that in a really safe and validating way.
Yeah. I think anytime you get into performance, I'm going to heal you, then you step into egoic placement of savior and victim, and nothing gets accomplished in that dynamic. It is a recipe for disaster. We don't heal each other in that way. I don't think that is actually possible. I can't heal you. You can't heal me. We can hold space for each other.
And support healing in each other. For sure. For 100%, we can support healing in each other.
Yeah.
But if I'm not ready to be healed, it doesn't matter how many magic tricks you throw at me. I'm not going to be healed. That's not really how it works. There's going to be a lot of resistance and probably adverse effects if people aren't ready to field what is being thrown at them if they're being forced or pushed into a certain direction.
Maybe hold a light or point a finger in the right direction.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. To shine some awareness on something so that when somebody then sees it, it might be just brewing in their space. But then when somebody says, hey, have you looked at that? Then that gives them the opportunity to be like, huh, okay. I think there was a point in the session, Quiana, where you had an aha moment about some ancestral energy. And I thought that's a good example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was when you revealed to me that I've been carrying around the belief that love is pain. So yeah, that indeed was an aha moment. That also through that awareness, I believe that it was helping to heal that, not just within me, but all the way back up.
This piece about love and who you love, especially when it comes in with regards to romantic situations, you're speaking to that in your crown. It's like you embody it more completely than just in your fourth or just for yourself or in certain situations. You really take that love piece and it becomes who you are in general. I hope I'm describing that because I can see it and it's really beautiful. Sometimes it loses it in the translation. So this is interesting. You're more comfortable coming from that place of love in your crown than you are in your fourth. This is a harder place. This is like a little bit more of an effort piece for you, which you're working on, but it's easier for you to feel love almost out here on the outside of your body than you are like inside. But when you do bring that vibration in, it helps to work that lifetime, starting when you were a kid, of these pain pictures or these memories of where some of those family programs landed. But it was supported by experiences over a lifetime that supported that guarded feeling or that feeling of not feeling safe and that the world wasn't trustworthy and people weren't trustworthy.
Is it more comfortable for me spiritually than it is
Yeah.
within body, meaning like my heart and my mind? It's not as comfortable in those spaces.
That's a really good point that you make. Yes, you seem to be getting it more, or it's easier for you to make those evolutionary steps more from a spiritual level of love and harder in the body space or the heart space because it does bump up against some of those pain pictures that are real.
What is the best way to work on releasing that so that it's more comfortable for me, both outside and inside, spiritually and I guess you could say physically?
Let me take a look at this. Everything is in motion right now. So it's not like there's a lot that you need to do. It's not really a doing thing. It's more about having the awareness of you're starting to feel shut down on a love level, whether that means for yourself or for other people, whether you're having a hard time receiving. And the more that you are aware that this is something that's in process and this is something that you are working, the more you can speak to it and really give it a moment of attention. And it's that moment of attention or that illumination that helps to continue to move. Does that help?
Yeah. We've spent a lot of time on the fourth chakra, but you also mentioned in the second chakra, there's energy blocks.
Yeah, so those are moving, but it feels dense in here. And these feel like places where you have stored away emotions. And I would also say this is a place where you could continue to be aware of letting go. There's a bit, again, of protection there and a little bit of a guarded feeling as well. It feels difficult to be vulnerable. You also carry in there, whether it's personal or from the family or maybe just like women in general, but there is a feeling of carrying female abuse or abuse on the female. So whether that is physical or emotional, just saying hello to allowing that to release.
I think I just had an aha moment.
Oh, good. Aha moments are great.
You said physical or emotional. So I have not experienced physical abuse, not so much emotional, but my grandmother, my mother's mother,
Yeah.
fortunately has only experienced physically and emotionally abusive relationships. And so I think that probably feeds into the mindset that I shared that my mom passed down, that no one can be trusted, or love is, I don't know, maybe I
Love
don't
is
know that
pain.
Yeah. Yes. 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 And so maybe it stems from that.
Yes. Yes. So this is where that piece about releasing the mother, the grandmother, the ancestral energy and coming more into a space of your female energy that is more in alignment with you, because these are not your stories. You've been carrying them, but they're not yours to carry. And they're not your responsibility to heal. And in fact, when they're released, it allows for that person, whether she's present or she's passed, for that person to heal on their own, within their own soul's journey. You're giving that energy back to them, but it's not like you're giving them something bad. You're giving it back to them so that they can heal it.
That's good also to hear, because I have given myself this family healer responsibility and label, and perhaps that is hindering me.
Colleen, it seemed as though the information coming through was based around the chakra system. Is that the case in all of your sessions, or was that unique to this one?
I think I probably start there because it's familiar. Like when you start a conversation with a person, it's getting to know you thing. So when I sit down with somebody, let's just start here and see what's going on. And I'm saying hello to a person in spirit. I'm basically looking at a person on the other side of my aura. So I know where my boundaries are energetically. I'm looking at them on the other side of that. So that's where I start. And then I just watch things unfold. And I might have a little bit of a quiet spirit to spirit conversation with them before I actually start talking to them verbally.
Beautiful. Do you actually see the release take place? Is that a visual that you can experience, or is it a feeling? Is that something that has shown up for you in sessions?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Seeing people's energy move happens for sure. And so whether that happens visually or sometimes people feel it in their bodies, they can feel things leave, they can feel things move. They have all kinds of different physical experiences. And then sometimes I'll get a text or an email a few days later, and they'll say, since our session, that has happened.
Yeah.
Or the movement or the change lands. They incorporate that release and it opens up spaces in them where more of their own personal information can come in. So they are more of the captain of their own ship. So that is the goal of a lot of this, is how much ownership can you have of yourself, in present time. And when you're in present time, it's a lot easier to feel that oneness, that centeredness, that alignment with yourself. So a lot of times people live too much in the future or too much in the past, and they spend very little time in the present, just being and existing in that moment. That's part of the awareness too, is to recognize when you're acting too much in the future and when you're operating too much from past information.
I would love to respond to this as well about the release for me post-session because of the awareness that I received during the session. I've been doing this for a while, and sometimes you're like, okay, what else do I need to know? Like, how much work do I need to continue to have to do? But you get to the point where I'm embracing whatever I need to be aware of. And post session with Colleen, I really was honing in on, wow, I've been carrying around a belief that I didn't really know I had, that I know that I need to release. And one morning while I was meditating, I was motivated to journal, and I literally listed everything that I need to release, like beyond what she made me aware of. And I kept going and going. I kept writing and writing. I was like, oh, I need to release this, or this may be another belief that I need to get rid of. Then after writing the list, I didn't view it as complete. I left myself open to continue to identify more beliefs, thoughts, experiences that I want to release. And once I felt the list was complete, I started to say, okay, if I'm releasing these things, what do I want to replace that with in my life? So what are the experiences that I want to have in place of what I'm releasing? And that just naturally flowed after my session. So thank you again for that.
Of course. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Did you find that writing that list helped you to release some of those things or some element of those things by acknowledging it?
Yeah, I did. So I wrote it and then I read the list. I spoke into existence that I am releasing these things. And I asked for guidance from God, from Spirit, in helping me to release them. So, yes. And even after doing that, I felt lighter. I knew that the work wasn't done that quickly, although I would have welcomed it to be done that quickly. But yeah, I felt lighter just even after that. And I also allowed myself to revisit it a few times to be reminded of what I'm releasing. So yeah, I'd say yes to that. And the only thing I've not done yet, but that this will be the finale for the release, is actually burn that list.
I was going to say that.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Love it. I think it's also important to remember that this is life's work, right? It's really the path. It's a lifestyle in a way. You're never going to stop learning. You're never going to stop discovering if you embrace this path. Anytime you start to feel that it gets to be work or effort, I think it's helpful to just take a moment and see, what are you resisting? Why does it have to be work? Why can't it just be self-love? I have seen when you take that effort piece out, when you surrender to it, it doesn't mean that you are allowing it to overtake. You're allowing it to move. Just being in that flow and being in that movement helps the lifestyle, helps the path, because every day, every moment becomes an opportunity for growth, whatever that is for the individual.
I see surrender is the act of inviting other benevolent forces to participate. I think that in the human condition, we get so overwrought with, I've got to do this. It's all on me. Only I can do it. But when I surrender, I have so much help and grace and support and information and love. I feel loved and supported, but I'm no longer participating fully in the human experience at that point.
One quick question. When Colleen mentioned self-love, I really felt it in my heart. So I was curious to see what that experience was for you. Is self-love also like a concept that you kind of sense in your crown, or does that connect with your heart space?
I'm starting to feel it in my heart space more. I'm also working on not being ruled and controlled by my mind and allowing myself to be in my body more. Whereas before, it would be more of a mental thing. I am starting to feel that more as well. And when she said that, I smiled and was like, yeah, why does it have to be work? And once it gets to a point where it feels like work, to our point, it's okay. Maybe we just take a step back and go skip down the street for a little bit.
You and I are going to skip together at some point. Into that idea. Colleen, did you want to answer that as well?
About where do I feel the love?
Self-love specifically.
Yeah, I think the self-love is ever evolving. I'm getting better at it, but I think that, like a lot of people, there's a lot of opportunity for self-judgment, self-criticism, even some self-punishment, blame, guilt. It has a lot of names and a lot of feelings to it. And just every time that comes up, really trying to give yourself some grace. If you've done the best that you can do, if you were the best version of you in that particular day, then you rocked it. And that the next day might be different.
The next day is always different.
Yeah.
Colleen and Quiana, tell us why this work is important to you. What does it mean to you? What does it give to you?
I think that this work shifted the way that I look at life. This paradigm that started with Chinese medicine, and maybe even before that, the anthropology with the shamanism stuff, so shifted how I look at everything in life. The more I get into the energy work, I do believe it gives every moment an opportunity for growth. Now, am I always 100% conscious of every moment in my day being a growth situation? Not necessarily, but it's a sum of all the parts. So for me, the continuation of exploring and giving myself the opportunity to change and to release and to discover different parts of myself, whether I agree with them or not, that self-awareness and that self-knowledge, getting to know myself even more, that keeps unfolding. And I keep surprising myself. That to me is why I continue to do it, because I think there's more to discover.
Isn't that amazing? And you've been doing it as long as you have, and yet you're still discovering new information and experiences and methods, probably.
Yeah. And I don't ever see myself stopping that, because the movement is so important.
Yes, movement is incredibly important. Quiana, what would you like to share in terms of why you do this work?
It's important to me for multiple reasons. I think we're so focused on the external and so affected by the external. I've gotten to a point where I am exhausted being at effect of other people or things like outside of me, to the point that it takes me away from myself. So it's important to me because it allows me to focus inward and to understand myself more through the awareness that we were talking about, and open myself up to the healing that I need in order to reconnect to my authentic self. And in order to open yourself up to that healing, you have to be vulnerable. And that's been a challenge for me. But I also believe that's where the magic happens. Like when you're able to be vulnerable and be open to even trying things that you've not done before. Like I researched ayahuasca a long time ago. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, but maybe not for me. And now I've had that experience, and it was absolutely life changing. So I think the experience of being vulnerable enough to be taken where you need to go to become who it is you were created to be.
Oh my God, say that again.
What did I just say? To become vulnerable enough to be where you need to go to become who you were created to be is why I do it. And I think what my heart desires matters. And I have to honor that. And I have to get myself into a place where I can honor that. And so this work helps me do that, because if not, I'm only partially living life. And I'm not here for that. I want to live it fully and enjoy it and be an example to other people that they can have that experience.
I'm left speechless. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we'd like to ask everyone to share with us your spiritual practices, the ones that you utilize on a regular basis to help you find balance and connection. Quiana, do you want to start?
My spiritual practices.
Anything that are your go-to remedies or practices?
From a meditation perspective, based on what I'm feeling, do I feel like my aura needs to be cleansed? Do I want to focus on my root chakra today? I'll find meditation music to leverage for that during those meditation sessions. I mentioned giving myself readings before. I have two separate decks, the Oracle deck and a tarot deck. From a breathwork perspective, I use the information that you've shared with me, Krista. That's been very helpful as well. So those are my main methods at this time. A spiral notebook from Target for journaling.
Any excuse to get a Target run in. Colleen, what about you?
I use meditation a lot. I definitely every day, maybe multiple times a day, especially if I'm working, I ground and run energy through my body. Running that energy through my body and being aware of where my aura is and how to cleanse that. It's like taking an energetic shower. And then when I do that, making sure that I fill up with what it is I need in that moment. So whatever that is, and just doing that in an intentional way. That I find a lot of spiritual connection to the earth. So I'm gardening quite a bit,
Oh, nice.
and that really helps. And I would say hiking and running for more of that active physical piece. And running was probably one of my earliest go-tos when it came to centering and getting more into a grounded state and an opportunity to release.
Yeah, it's so effective. I love it too.
Mhm.
All right. Before we close, is there anything that any of you would like to share that we didn't cover, or anything you'd like to ask of each other? Does everyone feel
I
complete?
think I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Krista. This was a fun
Yeah.
opportunity.
Oh, so much. Colleen, let's tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me at wild-healing.com is my website. So that's an opportunity. And I work out of an office in Palos Verdes.
Beautiful. And we'll put that on the website as well.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you both. It was really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Elle.
Nice to meet you, Elle.
Thanks so much, ladies. It was a beautiful conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And thank you for the
thank you.
opportunity to share. I loved it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Bye,
Take
Quiana.
care. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Beginner's Guide to the Third Eye. For more information about the show, visit our website, beginnersguidetothethirdeye.com. For show inquiries, email us at guidetothethirdeye@gmail.com, and visit the shop page on our website to find many of the products suggested by our practitioners and participants. And if you would be so kind, please leave a review and follow us on your go-to podcast platform, as it helps build our audience. Thank you. See you soon.